I helped my brother leave his bride at the altar because she invited our estranged mother, leading to dramatic family twists. We are three brothers, aged 34, 32, and 28, while his ex fiancee is 30. Not in the US, this story involves my middle brother. Our parents divorced early in my childhood due to our mother's severe jealousy. Initially, my father managed to cope with her behavior, but her unsettling remarks about wanting me to be more like his wife pushed him to his limits. After the split, she quickly moved on with a man who had two children, and they shared custody for a while. However, when my father remarried, she lost control, hurling insults at his new wife and accusing him of infidelity during their marriage. I've always been closer to my brothers and father, in contrast to my mother, who was perpetually harsh towards me. Tragically, my stepmother passed away in a car accident, and on that fateful night, my father informed her that he would be picking us up early to attend the funeral. Instead, she took us on a celebratory trip, which was disturbingly joyful for her. When we realized what had happened and tears welled up in our eyes, she coldly remarked that only worthless people mourn for prostitutes. This incident led to my father seeking full custody, granting her only visitation rights. Despite the distance, he made sure we could still see her after she moved, though those visits were fraught with tension. As we grew older, we naturally began to distance ourselves from her. The last time we saw her was at my high school graduation, where she and her new husband publicly denounced us as ungrateful children. Since then, we've maintained no contact (NC) with her. My brother Sam, however, encountered turbulence in his relationship 3 years ago when he started dating his now ex-girlfriend. Despite being aware of our family's history and the reasons for our estrangement, she believed our reactions were overblown. Their relationship was marked by constant disputes over her insistence that he reconcile with our mother, a notion he steadfastly resisted. During the wedding planning, there were no hints of trouble brewing, yet the undercurrents of familial discord were palpable. On the day of the wedding, we arrived at the church to find our mother, her husband, and their two children seated prominently in the front row. Panic surged through me, prompting an urgent huddle with my brothers. Sam, suspecting that she intended to disrupt the wedding, phoned his ex to alert her of the looming chaos. To his dismay, she calmly assured him that there was no cause for worry because she had personally invited them. Feeling betrayed, Sam hung up and quickly asked me to accompany him back home while our older brother attempted to manage the unfolding drama at the church. We retreated to our house and secured ourselves inside, even as his ex, along with her family and friends, tried desperately to persuade him to return. Amidst this, our mother's husband scornfully declared he had always known we were unworthy. In the aftermath, Sam received overwhelming support from most of his friends and our relatives. Our father's former in-laws have threatened legal action to recover the wedding expenses unless Sam proceeds with the marriage. However, Sam stands firm, preferring to reimburse them rather than bind himself to someone who betrayed his trust. Our immediate family supports him unconditionally, though the fallout has been severe. Interestingly, my oldest brother Joe received a message from Sam's ex claiming that inviting our mother was meant as a heartfelt wedding gift to underscore the importance of family. Ironically, my father had generously purchased a house for the couple as their wedding gift, with only Sam's name on the title. She had keys initially, but we changed the locks just today. Joe, along with other cousins, is currently moving Sam's possessions from her apartment. While the threat of a lawsuit looms, we're arranging to consult with a lawyer as a precaution. Meanwhile, we've learned that our mother and her family are still nearby, but we're comfortably gathered at our childhood home, unbothered by their proximity. As Sam grapples with his heartbreak, my father, my boyfriend, and my sister-in-law are all rallying to uplift his spirit. The backlash has forced me to deactivate my social media to escape the barrage of abusive comments, but as more people come to understand the reason behind Sam's abrupt departure, the harassment has thankfully subsided. While I regret the embarrassment she faced, my loyalty remains firmly with my brother. Edit 2. Curious about the aftermath at the church, I spoke with Joe. His account was as I expected. He announced to the congregation that Sam would not be arriving and advised everyone to head home. We committed to returning all gifts received by our family side. Outside the church, chaos ensued as the ex learned of the situation from her family and began her loud, emotional pleas, repeatedly trying to contact Sam. Our mother attempted to engage Joe, but he gave her no attention. Frustrated by his indifference, she broke down, lamenting our supposed cruelty, and naturally, some attendees consoled her, typical of her to draw sympathy. Joe and his wife remained unbothered and left the venue. The ex intercepted them, demanding to see Sam, but Joe refused. She then inquired about the party plans, to which Joe cleverly suggested reallocating the food to the venue staff, ensuring it wouldn't go to waste. While the scene at the church was fraught with shouting, Joe maintained his composure, unwilling to gratify our mother's desire for drama. After a brief stop at the store and some fast food joints, Joe, his wife, and I returned home, and it felt like reliving our childhood days now with a few more family members. We asked Sam if he preferred solitude, but he insisted we all stay. Initially, we had planned to spend time together post-wedding, so this turn of events wasn't problematic. When the ex showed up at our gate, clearly having forsaken the venue, my sister-in-law took the initiative. She contacted the venue with Sam's details, authorizing them to distribute the food. She even offered some parting advice on handling their predicament. It turns out we'll inherit all the alcohol my father purchased, promising a rather spirited end to the year. Several people have messaged me questioning why our father ever married our mother. The answer is simple. He was deeply enamored by her and once believed she was the kindest soul imaginable. Sadly, he was mistaken, but she expertly masked her true nature, knowing well that no one else but her disagreeable husband would marry her if her facade slipped. Dad once considered staying with her until we were adults, but her behavior progressively deteriorated. She exhibited moments of sweetness, and he held on to hope that she was changing for the better, only to see her repeatedly relapse. Regarding my ex-sister-in-law, there's no doubt she views our mother as a kind soul wronged by ungrateful children, charmed as she was by her facade. While some might find humor in mocking others, as long as they're not the target, it doesn't excuse her actions. Sam's need to explain the situation was solely to his boss, who was at the wedding and expressed both kindness and shock at the turmoil we endured, especially given our outwardly well-adjusted demeanor. Our father was deeply shaken by the events and advised Sam to take all the time he needed at home. Currently, Sam has decided to stay with us indefinitely. The support we've received online has moved our family, particularly Sam, who wants everyone to know that his ex-fiancée didn't display any overtly troubling signs before, and he believed she truly understood his troubled past. He has agreed to meet with her and her parents today, but only under the condition that it happens at our house where we can be there to support him. It promises to be an interesting encounter. Update: Sam did lose some money over the debacle, but it's manageable. Her parents covered her attire, a stunning cake, and part of the honeymoon. Though not the most favored in-law, it seems she genuinely loves Sam. We remain estranged from our mother's side of the family. Joe had kept in touch with our grandmother until his own wedding turned sour, prompting him to sever ties as well. Mom's outrageous claim that I wanted to replace her stemmed from her objection to our father-daughter days. Though Dad also had special days with Joe and Sam, Dad made every effort to spend quality time with each of us, both individually and together. She's just unwell, and we choose not to broadcast our turbulent childhood. Thus, when asked about our parents, we typically respond with, just my dad, or just my siblings and my dad. Most people assume our mother has passed away, sparing us from explaining why we no longer speak to her. Both of Mom's stepchildren are males in their early 30s. Meanwhile, our father has a long-term girlfriend whom we've grown quite fond of. She's been somewhat distant over the last few days given the circumstances, but assures us of her unwavering support. I was initially puzzled why Sam had agreed to meet after cutting off communication, but the catalyst was unsettling. His ex had sent videos and photos of all his belongings scattered on the floor to his best friend Tom, threatening to destroy everything unless Sam engaged with her. Tom immediately went to inform Sam of the situation. They demanded access to the apartment to secure his possessions before any further actions. Accompanied by Tom, Joe, several cousins, and my boyfriend, they swiftly gathered Sam's clothes, electronics, and essential documents. Sam half-joked that they were the quickest-moving crew he had ever seen. The meeting itself was, to put it mildly, ludicrous. She arrived with her parents and sisters, attempting to corner Sam for a private conversation. When he resisted, she proceeded to speak in front of everyone. Not once did she offer an apology. Instead, she blamed our upbringing for our lack of appreciation for true family values and accused us of being conditioned to disdain mothers. Her proclaimed aim was startling. She wanted to teach Sam the importance of mothers, fearing he might one day alienate her from her children, echoing what she believed he had learned from us. The discussion escalated when she labeled our family a cult and openly disparaged our father, an unforgivable line for us all. Sam's response was visceral. He denounced her as a despicable liar, expressed disgust at ever having been intimate with her, and ironically thanked his punctuality for exposing her true nature sooner rather than later. He criticized her for emulating her mother's mistake of staying with a deceitful partner, accusing her of feigning kindness just to secure a marriage. He then recounted all the minor flaws he had overlooked because of his genuine affection for the person he thought she was. Sam declared he could never forgive the anguish she inflicted on his siblings, yet he refused to hate her, arguing she wasn't worthy of such attention. He ended his tirade by asserting that since she chose to play the victim, he would ensure everyone knew the real reasons behind his absence from the wedding. It was a harrowing ordeal, yet strangely cathartic and crucial for Sam. Her parents remained silent throughout, their embarrassment palpable. She wept while her sisters tried to defend her actions and their parents' relationship, expecting a confrontation from us. However, we chose not to engage. Sam then addressed his ex-fiance's father, Phil, warning him that any legal action would only publicize their family's secrets, a prospect Phil surely wished to avoid. Phil, astonishingly, continued to insist that Sam should reconcile and marry his ex, arguing that they're not getting any younger and all families have conflicts. I couldn't help but roll my eyes at that. The remainder of the meeting focused on the logistics, returning wedding gifts, stopping harassment from their relatives, canceling the honeymoon, and changing the lock. Sam's ex was tearful, trying to engage him, but Sam remained strictly professional, only addressing her directly when she brought up the engagement ring that nobody had asked for. Later, as the alcohol was delivered, our mother and her husband sneaked through the gate. She claimed she just wanted to talk to her baby boys. My father asked her to leave, but she accused him of raising us wrong and embarrassing her with our conduct. She lamented our supposed lack of maternal love and suggested reconciliation. Her plea fell on deaf ears, and the situation only grew more pathetic. Joe stepped outside and told her to leave as the police were en route. Utilizing this as a moment to perform, she began weeping. It was Joe's first interaction with her in nearly a decade. She even tried to lure him to dinner with her and her husband, but Joe firmly told her the only news he wanted to hear about her was the date of her funeral so he could celebrate. Amid her hysterical tears and her husband's belligerent demands for an explanation, even threatening violence, my father and Joe returned inside and waited until they finally left before securely closing the gate. Some may find it hard to understand our actions, but what I've shared about our mother is merely the tip of the iceberg. Dad wasn't proud of Joe's harsh words, but he recognized that Joe was venting years of pent-up emotions, speaking for all of us. Perhaps this makes us seem cruel, but we sincerely wish to never see her again. We've decided to undergo family therapy sessions along with individual counseling. Sam is hesitant to keep the house, but Dad is advising him to take it slow, focusing first on healing his heart. We've been indulging in horror movie marathons, mixing in some classic Disney films, and even concocted a drama bingo game based on potential plot twists. It seems we do have a flair for the dramatic. We cherish each other deeply and have been taught to treat others with respect, but admittedly, we can be petty when provoked. While I would never wish being abandoned at the altar on anyone, I would stand by my brother again in a heartbeat because my love for him far outweighs my pity for her. We're planning a family trip for the future, but for now, we're relishing our time together. To the person who called Joe a hero, know that his siblings couldn't ask for a better brother and friend. We've read all your messages and are profoundly grateful for your support, the kind word, and the awards that have allowed us a space to express ourselves. Apologies if my English isn't perfect. Joe and Sam are aliases, of course, but the sentiment remains true. Also, my brothers have been reading your comments and appreciate your positivity immensely. To those in similar tough situations, hold on to hope that things will improve. Update 2, some clarifications. Feel free to message us even if it's to criticize. However, I will only respond publicly. To the person who accused Joe of being unfairly burdened with parental responsibilities, here's my clarification. My brothers spent time with me because they genuinely wanted to. We shared many special days completely at their discretion. They had a wide circle of friends and traveled extensively, both with and without me, with nannies, other family members, and our father around. They were never forced to take me along. They simply enjoyed my company. They enjoyed considerable freedom within reasonable limit. Our parents divorced when I was 3, and despite a shared custody agreement, we spent 90% of our time with our dad. Visits to our mother were always conducted in pairs. Joe and Sam continued to see her after turning 18, and I accompanied them to ensure I wasn't left alone. We've been in therapy for a while, but recent events prompted additional sessions after encountering our mother again. Joe was the only one who interacted with her this time. We know how to stand up for ourselves. Joe faced our mother alone by his own choice, not at our behest. Why didn't our dad accompany Joe to the church? Sam pleaded with him to return home. We didn't think it necessary for him to confront our mother again, although he had to speak with her later. Sam has shown his emotions openly. He is not a monster. Sam is heartbroken. He had believed he could spend his life with Daniela, trusting his judgment of character and hoping never to encounter our mother again. Thanks to our upbringing, we've become adept at managing our emotions, particularly around those we distrust or dislike, an essential survival skill fostered by our experiences. Joe once had a relationship with our grandmother, but he severed ties after she brought our mother as her +1 to his wedding without his consent. The venue, adhering to strict security protocols, did not host any religious ceremonies and maintained a no-entry list. Joe sent Grandma a final note and ceased all communication, even missing her funeral later. The wedding, hosting about 250 guests, had a seating chart with altered names, keeping us unaware of the invite. By the way, for the record, Daniela isn't Brazilian, and my father insists on clarifying that none of his children are alcoholics. He's humorously concerned about potential misconceptions, even in anonymity. This week has been tumultuous. Those who anticipated the pregnancy tactic were spot on. Daniela announced her pregnancy online, causing a frenzy that led many to contact Sam. He phoned her, insisting she remove the post. Despite her assertions, he demanded they meet for a discussion, which she agreed to, mistakenly believing he wanted to reconcile. I went with Sam to the meeting. Daniela's demeanor changed from joy to distress the moment she saw me. She broke down, clutching her stomach, and affirmed her pregnancy, lamenting the prospect of her child growing up in a broken home. Sam, skeptical, pushed for immediate medical confirmation. Her reaction was to cry louder, accusing him of not believing her. Ultimately, it was confirmed she was not pregnant. However, the drama didn't end there. She then accused Sam online of pressuring her into an abortion, creating a whirlwind of confusion among our acquaintances. When my sister-in-law Anna caught wind of these posts, she was livid. I'm unsure what was said during their conversation, but I've never seen Anna so furious. The posts were eventually taken down, and Anna sent an email to everyone on the wedding guest list, transparently explaining the situation and confirming that Daniela had fabricated her pregnancy. This morning, we learned that Daniela had a breakdown and left voicemails for Sam, declaring that if she couldn't be with him, she didn't want to live. This tactic is alarmingly reminiscent of our mother's manipulations, prompting Sam to contact the police to report the incident. Her family has since placed her in therapy where she is under constant supervision. While none of this brings us joy, we are determined to disengage from further involvement. We've changed our phone numbers and have taken steps to protect our privacy. Meanwhile, our mother sent Anna an email threatening to sue her for defamation due to the email she circulated, but we are not concerned. Anna's parents are wonderfully supportive and stand firmly behind her actions. Joe was initially disturbed by the events, but Anna has encouraged him to let go and focus on moving forward. Our mother's husband remains as charmingly deceptive as ever, and Dad is considering a restraining order, though they're not very effective in our area. Despite the turmoil, we had a wonderful time at home yesterday. Karaoke, dancing, good food and drinks, games, and yes, even a bouncy house, because why not? We enjoyed ourselves immensely. Most guests tactfully avoided mentioning the wedding fiasco, and those who did spoke of it appropriately. Dad has distributed most of the alcohol he purchased for the wedding as gifts to his employees, allowing each to choose a bottle. He plans to include more bottles in his Christmas gift baskets this year. We are looking forward to spending the holidays together and traveling. I mentioned a new paint color for the house to Sam, but he has no desire to live there any longer and is planning to rent it out. When I half joked about eloping to avoid any wedding drama, Joe asserted that should I decide to marry, it would be celebrated with the grandest party ever. He's still the best. Thank you all for your positive comments, messages, awards, and the interest in our ongoing saga, and to all the lovely Danielas out there, no offense intended. This isn't about you. Holiday update. Thank you for your continued interest. It's always a pleasure to log in and keep you informed about our development. A few points to address. Hello to the finest subreddit and YouTube viewers. You've become part of our family lore. I read every single comment and message. Some have noted my lack of a maternal figure despite having my grandmother, aunts, and others around. Rita, my father's girlfriend, does not fill that role, and I am confident in my identity as a woman regardless. When I first got my period, my father had a complete plan in place. He informed my brothers, and each had their own approach to handling it. It might sound awkward, but it was even more so for them. It's a funny story now and just goes to show how much they care about me. Rita is wonderful, and we all adore her. She's content without marriage, and while Dad has no plans to remarry, we'd support him if he changed his mind. Amidst everything, Daniela's sisters tried to create more chaos by labeling us as terrible people, but after Anna's clear and comprehensive email, no one took their accusations seriously. One of her sister's boyfriends even ended their relationship, unwilling to associate with such a contentious family. I won't disclose our location or what my dad does for a living, so please refrain from asking. We've updated our phone numbers and social media profiles and are even planning to move. Joe and I have some exciting news to share too. I draft these updates with fictitious names in Word to keep my thoughts organized. Dad jokingly says your applications to join our cult have been accepted. Reflecting on my last update from early November, I'm happy to report mostly positive developments. Sam is doing much better. He's taken a leave from work, supported by an understanding boss who's told him to return when ready. Living with Dad and with enough savings, he's not worried about finances. He's picked up jogging and is even planning to run a marathon next year. Sam is slowly returning to his usual cheerful self and has been helping Dad with home renovations, including painting rooms and designing murals. They're really enjoying their time together. Daniela sent Sam a note recently, but he chose not to read it and sent it back. The house has been listed for rent, which Sam is comfortable with. Now, for some even more thrilling news, I'm engaged. This has been in the works for months, and when I half joked about eloping, my future husband, Matt, was briefly thrown into a panic, thinking I'd guessed his plans. He had already discussed it with Sam, Joe, and my father. Dad gave Matt a hard time when he asked for my hand. Not to be taken literally, of course, but all in good humor. The proposal took place earlier this month, and I'm ecstatic. Dad is too. He's insistent on walking me down the aisle, even if it's just a civil ceremony. While my news is wonderful, there's another announcement in the family that's even more significant. Joe and Anna had been on the adoption list for some time, and a few weeks ago, they welcomed a baby girl into their lives. She is absolutely gorgeous, charming, and perfect. The adoption process is finalized, as is customary for infants in our country. We all knew they wanted to adopt, so when they announced that the baby was officially theirs, it was a moment filled with joyful tears. Dad has wholeheartedly embraced his role as a grandpa. Despite the challenges we faced this year, this joyous addition to our family is undoubtedly the highlight. Regrettably, our mother found out about the baby and expressed a desire to meet her. We've responded by securing what amounts to a restraining order in our area, firmly resolved to prevent any contact between her and the baby. On the downside, due to the emergence of a new COVID variant, we opted to stay home for the holidays, hosting a modest Christmas celebration to welcome the baby and celebrate our engagement. Joe and his wife couldn't join us in person since the baby is still very young, but they were with us via Zoom. We also decided to give Sam some playful gifts like Julia Roberts t-shirts and mugs, teasing him as the family's runaway bride. Joe and I are considering a move from our current flats to a house, seeking a fresh start. The recent events have left us a bit rattled, and we acknowledge there's emotional healing to do, but we remain focused on the positives as they far outweigh the negative. Whatever the future holds, I am eternally thankful for my family. This likely will be the last update for a while. I know recent posts have been less dramatic and perhaps less enthralling, but we're all hoping for less drama ahead. I don't plan to delete anything, so the account will stay active in case there are significant developments. Wishing everyone a fantastic end to the year and a marvelous 2022. Catching up in 2022, hello again, dear cult followers. It seems appropriate for a brief update for those still following along. First off, yes, Spanish is our native language. Adoptions here are final and typically managed by the government, with open adoptions being quite rare. Joe and Anna have long desired to start a family through adoption. The excitement around their announcement was akin to the buzz of announcing a new pope. Quite the celebration indeed. We siblings are now aged 35, 33, and 29. I previously used HB to mean husband, but I loved how some of you interpreted it as huge bastard. Honestly, either interpretation fits well in our tales. As anticipated, Joe and I relocated last year, and it has been a relatively quiet year. However, Daniela threw everyone for a loop by claiming she was pregnant and naming Sam as the father. Oddly enough, Sam couldn't possibly be the father as he wasn't even in the country when the baby was supposedly conceived. She didn't know this, though. Sam has repeatedly offered to take a paternity test to clear the air, but Daniela has steadfastly refused. Legally, Sam is in the clear. He just feels terrible for her child. Adding to the drama, Daniela's father tried to sue Sam for emotional distress on behalf of both his daughters, Daniela and her sister, whose boyfriend left her. Thankfully, nothing came of the lawsuit thanks to Joe, who happens to be a lawyer. Sam chose not to retaliate against Daniela's father, burdened enough by his own responsibilities and feeling pity for her family. Our mother continues to seek a meeting with the baby, but it will never happen. She resorted to one of her go-to manipulations, pretending she has cancer. She reached out to Joe and Anna through their work emails, pleading for a chance to meet the baby under the guise of being critically ill and potentially needing a transplant. Remarkably, this is the 6th time she's claimed to have cancer, yet she has never actually had it. She thrives on the attention, sympathy, and drama such claims stir in people. We, of course, never believed her, but we didn't anticipate her making a scene by reaching out to Anna's mother via Facebook. Anna's mother, a devout Catholic, is a kind and gentle soul, making her a prime target for manipulation by our mother. Mother spun a tale to Anna's mother about her supposed cancer and expressed her sorrow over potentially never meeting the baby. Naturally skeptical, Anna's mother asked a few probing questions about the diagnosis and treatment, which, as expected, didn't add up. She ended up blocking her and posted the screenshots on her Facebook wall. It's like a high school drama, but with adults wielding sharper wit. On a brighter note, the baby is thriving and perfectly healthy. The only minor issue was what title Rita, Dad's girlfriend, should be given. Our mother contested Rita's right to be called Grandma. However, Joe, Anna, and Rita had a discussion and unanimously decided she would be known as Grandma Rita, much to our mother's chagrin. Sam has been flourishing too. He quit his job to start his own business. He's still living in the family home, renting out his second property, and is currently seeing someone new. She's charming, aware of our past ordeals, a skilled baker, and adept at knitting. We all like her, so we're hopeful yet cautious. They're taking their relationship slowly, which is heartening to see. He's also continued helping Dad with home renovations, though their painting efforts are hilariously amateurish, reminiscent of kindergarten art projects. Please know, I say this endearingly, Dad caught COVID for the first time, which scared him enough to revisit his will, emphasizing why Joe's legal expertise is invaluable. They wanted Sam and me to be informed about the will after finalizing it. Dad's estate is to be divided into 4 parts, 3 for his children and 1/4 for any grandchildren. The family home, however, will not be divided, but will soon be transferred into my name. I was surprised, but Joe and Dad insisted it was the right decision, contingent on Sam's approval. Sam agreed, and he's content with the arrangement. They didn't give many reasons, just that it felt like the correct thing to do. I suspect it's partly because I'm the youngest, but that's okay with me. Joe purchased a house in the same neighborhood, so while we're not on the same street, we're very close. Matt and I have decided not to buy a new place since I will be inheriting the family home, which simplifies things considerably. We've moved into the family home, and adapting to its quirks has been an interesting yet enjoyable experience. Dad has begun semi-retirement and spends more time at Rita's place, which seems to suit everyone well. Sam is welcome to stay as long as he likes, though we've playfully insisted that his murals might need to find a new home eventually, lol. We're still happily engaged, enjoying our time babysitting, and no, not expecting any children, though we did adopt a kitten this spring. We're planning our wedding for December, looking forward to ending the year with a wonderful celebration. So there you have it, minimal drama and steady progress in our healing journey, which is exactly what we've hoped for. In case you're curious why I'm posting this update, one of us is a big fan of the best of Redditor updates and thought it was time we shared ours. So, greetings from the cult, and we wish everyone an excellent final few months of 2022. As for 2023, welcome back to Reddit. Continuing with tradition, we now have 2 cats. Sam has moved in with his girlfriend, and it's a relief to see him so happy again. Dad has more or less moved in with Rita, which has been a bittersweet adjustment, but we support them wholeheartedly. Now, for some tougher news, there was indeed cancer in our mother's circle, but not hers. Tragically, one of her stepchildren was affected and passed away earlier this year. She's exploiting the situation for sympathy, which infuriates us as usual. Despite the genuine sadness of the situation, our no contact policy with her and her family remains firmly in place. Daniela did have her child, a lovely boy who, as expected, is not Sam's. She attempted to involve Sam, urging him to recognize the child and sign some documents, but he stood his ground, and the paternity test confirmed his non-paternity. Daniela struggled to accept that Sam was genuinely happy with someone else and became increasingly erratic when he moved in with his girlfriend. She still harbors feelings for him and even tried to cyberbully his girlfriend, who fortunately is made of sterner stuff. Oh, and the father of Daniela's child turns out to be a married coworker in his 50s. A scandalous twist, but thankfully not our circus, not our monkey. Sam has moved in with his girlfriend and he continues his therapy sessions, as do we all. He's made significant improvements and is doing much better overall. His girlfriend has become a beloved part of our family, seamlessly integrating and understanding all that we've been through. Moreover, Sam has achieved a remarkable milestone by completing his first marathon. The timing was tough, but he pulled through. Joe, Anna, and the baby are thriving. They remain on the adoption list, hoping to expand their family further. I should mention that in my country, adoptions are not managed through agencies. Prospective parents undergo various tests and interviews to assess their suitability, and once matched, the child is theirs unequivocally. This process might sound unusual, but remember, practices vary globally. This little girl is truly the best baby ever. I may be biased, but she's a delight. We make sure she's lovingly disciplined. She's told no when necessary because we believe in not spoiling her too much. She has her own room at our house and a playpen at Sam's, as they are still looking for a permanent place. Both Sam and his girlfriend work from home, which adds to their need for space. Dad is living with Rita now, and they are blissfully happy, having recently enjoyed a few trips together. They revel in being grandparents, very much hands-on in their approach. They jokingly say they have 3 grandbabies now, counting the cats who often visit their home. It's funny because Dad was initially reluctant about getting cats, but now he's utterly smitten, often photographing all his babies and sharing prints with friends. His friends sometimes get confused whether he's gushing about the cats or the baby, given his enthusiasm for both. In his view, you can never have too many toys for kids, which seems to be a grandfather's prerogative. We had our wedding in December. My father walked me down the aisle, and we embraced several non-traditional elements that are somewhat unconventional for our culture. Joe was Matt's best man, and Sam, who insisted on being called Julio throughout the wedding planning, was my best mate. Our mother attempted to attend the wedding and even sought Anna's mother's help to gain entry, but she was met with silence. Some of our mother's relatives criticized the decision to have Rita present instead of my own mother, deeming it undignified. However, I believe it's wrong to support my mother's behavior, but everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Despite the potential for drama, the wedding was a joyous occasion without any stress. There were no dramatic exits, outbursts of grief, or attempts to disrupt the celebration. We're currently renovating part of the house to make it feel more like our own and moving out of my childhood bedroom, but so far everything is progressing smoothly for the cult. This year, Sam received fewer Julia Roberts-themed gifts, but he still proudly wears his t-shirts throughout the year. Excitingly, Sam's girlfriend has confided in us that she's considering proposing to him when the time feels right. So who knows, maybe this time Sam will actually make it down the aisle. Thank you for following our story. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and click the notification bell to stay updated with more astonishing real-life stories happening around us.